Greetings of the day. Welcome to yet another episode of Policy to Practice podcast powered by Center for Development Policy and Practice. Myself, Ablaz Mohammed Schemnad, your host for the day, and we have with us an esteemed journalist who have been working as a lot of other things which we'll talk about in the episode. Good to have you, sir.
Thank you.
Before we start with the questions,
Ablaz, yes.
Thank you, sir. How would you like to describe yourself?
Look, I've been for 47 years a journalist.
Right.
I've been an author also. I've written or co-authored 8 books.
Right.
I've published 36 books. I've been a producer and director of documentary films, long documentary films, for the last 25 years. I've made that many documentary films. I'm an occasional teacher, and of late, I've been producing music videos. I've made about 12 of them. And also relatively recently, I've started working in languages other than English. My mother tongue is Bangla, Bengali, and my third and weakest language is Hindi. So I'm going to turn 69 in a few months from now. So this is what I do.
Wonderful, sir, wonderful.
And my main areas of interest are really the political economy of this country and the world, and also looking at mass communication, the mass media.
Okay. So an amalgamation of academia, politics, political economy, and society.
I don't know if I should call myself an academic.
Right.
I was for about 15 months the editor of the Economic and Political Weekly, and it was a rather controversial period in my life.
Right. Wonderful, sir. It's not your work, the areas you address, and also a recent documentary on Dharavi, titled Dharavi Slum. Right. Wonderful documentary to start with.
Thank you.
What do we have? Let's directly get into that aspect of crony capitalism and also the winners and losers and the other stakeholders in this. Or
you mentioned Dharavi. Dharavi is a unique place in the world.
Right.
In an area of roughly 2.5 square kilometers, close to 1 million people live. I don't think there is such a densely populated part of the world anyway. It's often described as not just India's biggest slum or Jhuggi or Jhopalpatti. It's often described as Asia's and the world's biggest slum. Now, over several decades, various plans have been drawn up, and these plans have not been implemented particularly well to redevelop that area. The manner in which the Maharashtra government has bent rules to give the award to a company, Adani Realty, headed by Gautam Adani, who is one of the richest men of India and one of the richest men in the world, it stinks of cronyism. And the way in which the rules, the regulations, the way in which development rights have been transferred, all indicate that the playing field was not level. The bids, one attempt was made, another attempt. The rules of the bidding process were changed, and there were all kinds of reasons for it. And I feel that the manner in which Adani Realty was given the contract to hold 80% in a special purpose vehicle to redevelop the world's largest slum stinks of crony capitalism. Now, if you ask me what is crony capitalism, it's not capitalism. Capitalism implies that the playing field is level. That when you have an auctioning process or a bidding process, the bidders would be working in an environment where their bids would be treated in a fair manner. That the rules won't be changed. Unfortunately, in the way in which Adani Realty got the contract to redevelop Dharavi, and it's all political really, in my opinion, was unfair. And there's a lot of opposition to the program, or the plan, the redevelopment plan, by not just the local residents and scholars and academics and urban planners, but all the political parties that are currently opposed to the regime. The Devendra Fadnavis, actually he's technically a deputy chief minister, and Eknath Shinde is the chief minister, and Ajit Pawar is the other deputy chief minister. So their government, anybody and everybody, all the political parties, cutting across ideologies opposed to the ruling regime in Maharashtra, are opposed to the way in which Dharavi is being redeveloped or is being sought to be redeveloped. It's a long-term project. And thank you for watching you. My film is available in English and Hindi, and any of those who are watching you, if they would like to
we link it.
Yes, Dharavi Ka Dada Kaun, and there it's available on Paranjoy online.
Right. We'll definitely link it with the description of this video and podcast. Alright, sir. So the complexity of being a slum, and as you mentioned, like 2.5 square kilometer, and densely populated, with a range of waves of migration.
That's right.
Manufacturing.
If you look at it this way, if you go by the way the government has worked out the rules, half of those people would be considered ineligible, not entitled to any kind of compensation because they're quote unquote illegal. And about a tenth, including, if you include them in that half, so 10 lakhs, 1 million, 10 lakhs, 5 lakhs are quote unquote legal, and 4 lakhs illegal, and 1, they're migrants, they come and they go. Now, after a lot of agitation, a lot of opposition, the government is saying, no, we will also consider rehabilitating and compensating them in other parts of Mumbai. Now, the people there are asking, will that happen? Because Dharavi is unique, because it's not only where people live, there are tens of thousands of small-scale industries, mini, micro, units, MSMEs, micro, small and medium enterprises. And the people live there and work there. That is what makes Dharavi also unique. And they support Mumbai, and you have to put it in a bigger context too. Given the shortage of real estate in Mumbai is arguably the most expensive in the world. Not in rupee terms, but if you go by what economists would call purchasing power parity. So in comparable terms, real estate values in Mumbai are the highest in the world. Whether it's New York or whether it's Tokyo or any other part of the world, in terms of people living in shanty towns or slums or what I say, chukis, chhotis, it's comparable to similar urban, sort of clusters, or where the poor and the underprivileged live, only in certain parts of the world. Mexico City, Sao Paulo, and Manila, just to name a few. So, what is happening over there also indicates which way India is going. The gap. You want to make Dharavi into another Bandra Kurla complex, which is upmarket, upscale, where the Ambanis have their centers, where the wedding celebrations or the pre-wedding celebrations happen, where all the top business houses have their offices over there. Now, if you want to compare to that, what happens to the livelihoods? If you're going to take them and put them in places in different parts of Mumbai, you are going to destroy their livelihoods, because Dharavi is in the heart of the city of Mumbai.
Correct, right.
And it also reflects what's happening in India today. Inequalities. Inequalities of income and wealth. It's not I. It's not leftists, but economists, including teams put together by economists like Thomas Piketty, who their studies indicate that inequality of income and wealth in India at present is more than what it was even when the British used to rule this country, when the colonial rulers used to rule this country. Now, if you're supporters of the government, you will say, oh, we can quibble with the figures, we can quibble with the way these numbers are arrived at. India provides certain kind of data which or does not provide certain kind of data which others do. Look, the entire statistical system and the data system in this country is in shambles. And it's a very, very sad story. Forget the caste census. We've not had a census which was supposed to take place in 2021. I can understand that was the peak of the pandemic. Today we are in 2024. Why hasn't the census process begun? Why? What is the explanation? Again, we go back to colonial times, British, when the British came, from the time, from the last decades, last periods of the 19th century, you had every 10 years a census.
Okay.
If I remember correctly, it was from the late 19th century.
Right.
Now you haven't had one. Why? And this is not just a question of caste, religion. It impedes the government because so many policies of the government, so many practices of the government, including the way in which welfare schemes are put together, are dependent on data provided by the census. It's the biggest exercise of its kind anywhere in the world. Why? Because India happens to be the most populous country in the world. We have over 1.4 billion people who live here. And according to certain demographers, they say there are more people in India than in the People's Republic of China. Of course, the demographic profile is very different.
True.
India, the median age is 27, 28, 29. Demographers vary. They say, some will say 28, some will say 29. Whereas the comparable median age in the People's Republic of China would be 38 or 39. That's the big difference between the two most populous countries on planet Earth. Accounting for roughly 40% of the world's population. That's correct.
So, coming back to Dharavi, yes, we understand the complexities, we understand the stakeholders, losers and winners. What we as researchers, in terms of working for a comprehensive public policy, management of welfare of the whole masses, right? What do we take away as a solution or a viable solution?
First thing is, and this is just beginning, and why after people have hit the roads, after people have been agitating, avoid this top-down approach. Have a bottom-up approach. Speak to the people, discuss the projects, discuss the plans with those who are going to be affected by that redevelopment project. Why do you have to do it after people have been angry and upset and agitating? This again reflects the mindset of our policymakers and those who are in positions of power and authority, and the inequality not only in terms of income and wealth, the inequality in terms of access to power, the decision-making authorities. Why don't they discuss with the people of Dharavi what kind of redevelopment program, how it is to be done, the sequencing of the program, how are the public facilities to be provided, how are the amenities to be provided, how do you ensure minimum disruption of lives and livelihoods. So these things haven't been done, and that's why we've had the kind of agitation or the opposition to the project in its present form.
That makes sense, sir. Based on my experience as I was conducting my fieldwork in Dharavi, I could see a segregation. There will be a place where Tamilians are predominantly seen, there will be a place where, as they call Bhaias, North Indian Muslims, and there will be a place where there used to be Malayalis, and then there's a coming generation is the
You know, you've made an important point.
Yeah.
Ablaz.
Yes, correct.
Dharavi is a microcosm of this country.
True.
And Mumbai being the financial capital, being the commercial capital, trading capital, entertainment capital, you know, it is where people from all over the country come to seek their fortunes, to seek livelihoods. You know, and there's so many rags to riches stories. Dharavi has been the subject matter of so many films, so many books. So the point that you made is important. Dharavi is a microcosm not just of Mumbai, not reflects the reality of this country. India is in every way the most diverse, heterogeneous and plural countries on this planet. Out of 200 odd countries on planet Earth, there's no country in the world where you have 17 languages on your currency note. Then you have 22 languages that can be used for official purposes, out of which 21 are in the 8th schedule of the Constitution of India. Now you can ask why those 4 languages are missing. Because they have similar scripts. Yeah, I mean, that's only one indication. Look at our religious diversity. Christianity came to Kerala before it went to West Asia.
Right.
Or went to Europe, from West Asia. From West Asia, it went to Europe later than it came to Kerala. It came to Kerala. 1 out of 7 Indians is Muslim. But because India is the world's most populous country, there are more Muslims in India than in all but 2 countries in this world. That is Indonesia and Pakistan. I mean, look at one state in India, Uttar Pradesh, where the ruling regime, the Bharatiya Janata Party, has become particularly weak after the 2024 Lok Sabha elections. Uttar Pradesh, one state, one province, 1 out of 6 Indians live there. If Uttar Pradesh was a separate country, it would have been the 6th most populous country on the planet, replacing Pakistan. You know, after the People's Republic of China, India minus Uttar Pradesh, Indonesia, United States of America, and Brazil. So when you're looking at a country which is as big, as diverse as this country, some of it gets reflected even in a small place like Dharavi. The religious diversity, the cultural diversity, the kind of food that we eat, the way we look, the way we dress. Right. So that way, it is indeed a microcosm of this country.
Wonderful, sir. Wonderful monologue in that friend. This will be my last question. We have seen who are the rulers who are getting benefited. I mean, do we see a light or a spark of light at the end of the tunnel?
You know, the outcome of the 2024 elections, Lok Sabha elections, makes me hopeful. The ruling regime has become weaker. The Bharatiya Janata Party, which is a right-wing Hindu nationalist party, its number in the Lok Sabha has come down from 303 to 240, which is 32 below the halfway mark of 272. There's a lot of controversy about the way in which elections were conducted, the way in which the Election Commission of India has conducted elections. As we talk, it's been a month, it's more than a month since a group of citizens raised several questions in the way the elections were conducted, the way in which the numbers, over 4.5, close to 5 crore votes, you know, the way they were counted or not counted. Despite these anomalies and inconsistencies and questions, the fact of the matter is that there have been winners and there have been losers. The 2 richest men in India, Mr. Mukesh Ambani, Shri Gautam Adani, they're not just the richest Indians, they are among the richest in the world. Yeah, if you look up these, what they say, rich lists, Forbes and various other people put up from time to time, they're right up there. they keep exchanging positions, but that is because these rankings are done on the basis of market capitalization, which keeps changing literally from day to day, minute to minute when the markets are open. This may not be a most accurate way of judging the wealth of an individual. Remember that this regime has given huge benefits to the corporate sector. The corporate sector, industries have not done well. Two major disastrous decisions have actually weakened India's economy. The first was demonetization, Notbandi. It weakened the weakest sections of the population: senior citizens, women, children, daily wage laborers, farmers, small traders and merchants and shopkeepers. The next decision, which was the sheer speed at which the government sought to implement the goods and services tax in the middle of 2017. Notbandi was 2016 November, then came 2017. Look, from 2017, from the middle of 2017 till the middle of 2024, in 7 years, the rules have had to be changed 900 times. Now, small changes, big changes. Obviously, you rush through that system. And then, the 24th of March 2020, where you implement the harshest ever lockdown. You just stop this country. And for the first time in the history of this country, you saw a reverse migration. Historically, always there's been migration from the rural areas to the urban area. This time you actually had reverse migration. And many would argue, the numbers are not known. The government is refusing to give these numbers. But many would argue that it can be compared not just when the subcontinent was partitioned in 1947 and the process began even earlier and the violence continued even later. But I don't think any part of the world has seen this kind of internal migration. For the first time in the history of India, the economy actually slowed down. The rate of growth of India's economy slowed down. And these are the same right-wing economists who love talking about rates of growth. Now, what happened for the first time? 2 successive quarters, you had negative growth. What is negative growth? It's an oxymoron. Sure. The economy shrunk. And if you go by the American definition of what is called a technical recession, if your economy actually shrinks for 2 successive quarters over a 6-month period, you are in a recession. It never happened in India. That's where we are today. The government data on employment and underemployment is inadequate. It is often not issued on time. But there is good reason to believe that even if you look at statistics that are available, the periodic labor force surveys, that unemployment and youth unemployment in India is at its highest in the last 4.5 decades, perhaps half a century. Inequality, unemployment, if you remove cereals, the government is giving 80 crore, 800 million people free food grain. That's what the government claims. Okay, what is that? 5 kilograms of rice or wheat, 2.5 kilograms of chickpeas per family per month. You look at the other items. Look at outside rice, wheat, chickpeas. You see we have huge inflation. And what does inflation mean? It indirectly means there's a transfer of resources from the rich to the poor. And it's contributed to that inequality. This is the state of the economy. And so the 300 million Indians who, by any definition of what is the poverty line, who are below that poverty line, who live on 100 rupees or less a day, compare them with the notional wealth of Mr. Ambani and Mr. Adani, and you know who the winners are and who the losers are.
Wonderful, sir. Thank you so much. It was a pleasure talking to you.
It's my pleasure as well, Ablaz.
Thank you, sir. I hope you all enjoyed the episode. We'll see you on the next episode. Thank you.